Okay, so it looks like we are ready to start. So hello and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I'm joined today by a panel of analytical chemists from a variety of industries, and we're going to be discussing how analytical chemistry skills can be transferred and applied to a variety of industries. We're going to start off today with some introductions from the panel. And while we're introducing ourselves, why not add a message to the chat and let us know who you are and where you're joining us from. After our introductions, we're going to move straight into our panel discussion, and we'll have some opportunities for you to ask your questions to the panel as well today via our question and answer function in Zoom. If you have any thoughts about any of the things that we're discussing, please do share them in the chat as well. At the end, I'll also give a brief introduction to the Analytical Chemistry and Measurement Science course and further information about where you can find out more about the programme. So I'm Hazel, one of the course advisor team here at the University of Manchester, and I'm here to support prospective students from a range of courses, including our part-time and online Analytical Chemistry and Measurement Science programme. I'm here to make the decision about studying at the University of Manchester as straightforward as possible, guiding you through the application process and answering any questions that you have right up until you hopefully begin your studies with us. I'll be sharing my contact details at the end of today's webinar if you'd like to contact me, but today my main role is to facilitate our discussion. And I'm now going to hand over to Rashila to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear Hazel?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you. My name is Rashila Mudley, and I'm the Program Director for the Distance Learning in Analytical Chemistry and Measurement Science course at the University of Manchester. I would like to thank you all for attending our webinar, and I hope that it inspires you to join our program. So why is analytical chemistry important? Firstly, there is an increased need for industries and institutions to understand the regulatory requirements set by authorities and to comply with these mandated quality standards. Secondly, there is an ethical and moral responsibility for companies to protect the environment and prevent harm to human health. To achieve this, rigorous and routine testing of samples using classical and advanced analytical techniques is required. Samples can be biospecimens such as blood, analyzed for the diagnosis of diseases and health conditions. They can be environmental samples to test for environmental pollution, pharmaceutical products to test for quality and compliance, or forensic samples for DNA analysis, forensic pathology, and trace evidence examinations. Accurate analyses using analytical instruments ensure that the food we eat and the water we drink are safe for consumption. And in the agricultural sector, it is used to enhance the quality of food crops. Our curriculum aims to provide high-quality training and development in analytical science for a range of industries. We deliver topics on atomic and molecular spectroscopy, chromatography, mass spectrometry, magnetic resonance spectroscopy, X-ray spectroscopy, food chemical safety and integrity, and chemometrics, where you learn how to derive additional intelligence from the data. At the end of the course, you will become a broad spectrum and multifaceted scientist equipped with advanced analytical techniques that can be used across different industries. I won't go into more detail on the benefits of our course, as the panelists are here to elaborate on this. But I will say that our distance learning in Analytical Chemistry and Measurement Science course is one of the best, and enrolling would be a decision you would not regret. Thank you. Back to you, Hazel.
Thanks, Rashila. Can I hand over to Greg now to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Greg Woodhead. I am the Senior Teaching Technician for the undergraduates in chemistry at the University of Manchester, and I've recently just finished this course. My day-to-day role is to make sure that students are using their equipment correctly, safe and prepared for them to use, and my area of expertise is mass spectrometry and chromatography.
Brilliant, thank you. And Ntombi?
Hi, my name is Ntombi Vundla, and I'm joining you from South Africa today. I just prepared a short presentation just to give everyone a just a clear understanding of exactly what I've done with my degree in analytical chemistry. Okay, so as I've mentioned, I am Zotto Vundla. I hold a master's degree in chemistry. I got it from the University of University of KwaZulu-Natal. It is a university based in South Africa. When I was a master's student there, actually, I was supervised by Dr. Rushila Moodley. So the panel that's sitting in front of you is one that you can actually trust with this type of information. So currently I work for a company known as SkySide, and basically they are environmental monitors. So we do environmental testing, and we test air, water, and soil. And we are accredited for the work that we do, internationally accredited. And that is because, as Rosila had mentioned, there is a lot of compliance and regulatory that companies need to comply with in order to prove that they are basically protecting the environment. So accreditation comes in very handy because authorities will not take data that is not accredited. And of course, in order for this to happen, you need to be deemed competent. And in order to be deemed competent, you're going to need to have a qualification to do the work. So basically, we test a variety of things. We do compressed air testing, we do odor monitoring, we do stack emissions testing, we do various air quality tests for dust fallout monitoring. We also, this was from a soil testing and sludge testing that we did. And then we also do some water testing as well. So my role with the company is that I run the water testing division as well as the emergency response division, all of which, of course, we are constantly or only just making use of analytical chemistry. So if you have a look at the stacks here that are being tested, so again here in our organization, we only send people who are qualified with a science degree in order to do this, preferably one in chemistry. But you know, we will accept an engineer or two, but it's preferably needs to be chemistry. So in order to be able basically to assume the role that I have with my company, you need to actually have a very high qualification, such as a master's degree that I hold. Yeah, but so that's basically how it works where we are. So before that, I was with a WWF. They are a non-profit organization, and there I did coastal systems research, and again, still making use of analytical chemistry. So again, here I was doing water quality analysis, where basically we were testing the quality of water. And so I used to meet a lot with the governments and the municipalities and all of the different authorities, because there is a massive concern around the quality of water. And I'm sure that this is not just an issue in South Africa, it is also an issue all around the world as well. So those are just the various tasks that I was involved in here. Like I said, it was mostly for coastal research here. So it was coastal research and a bit of government as well. And before that, I was with the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and here I did mostly just teaching and learning. So a lot of the students that came out of the university with their undergraduate degree between 2015 and 2018, they were taught by myself as well as Rushila Moodley. So basically, yeah, so getting yourself an analytical chemistry degree it's quite a versatile degree. You can do quite a lot of things with it, as I've shown here. So whether you choose to go into industry, you can go non-governmental, or you can go into education, there is still a wide variety of spheres that you can go into to make use of your degree. So I will stop here.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much for that detailed introduction as well. It's really, really great. So I'm going to move on to sort of the start of our panel discussion. And what I will do is I will also, I've set a little poll, and I'd really like to sort of see the different areas that you, our audience, are working in. Now, I was limited on the number of options I should choose. So if the option and the industry that you work in or would like to work in isn't on this list, please put it in the chat. It would be great to see the sort of different areas and where people's interests lie. So the first question I have, I'm going to come to you, Rashila, with this question. You're obviously the program director for our Analytical Chemistry and Measurement Science course. I was just wondering if you'd be able to talk about some of the different industries that the students who are currently studying come from.
Yes, hi, Hazel. Looking at your list, we do have students from the pharmaceutical industry, environmental science. We have 3 students from higher education. I think we also have 3 from the petrochemical industry, 1 from forensics, a couple from food safety. I'm not too certain about engineering. Health, well, health is kind of general because we do have people that are working with water quality and so on. Nobody in biotechnical that I know of. So almost all of these industries. We also have people from material science, the automotive industry, and government regulatory bodies. So those are the ones that are not there. We have a nuclear scientist as well. So quite a few, as I said, a range of industries. And this is not an exhaustive list, as Hazel said. Thank you, Hazel.
Yeah, no, that was great. And absolutely, you're absolutely right. This isn't an exhaustive list. So to everyone who's answering these questions at the moment, if you are finding that your industry isn't on there, we'd love to know where that is. And please do pop that in the chat. Like I say, I was actually very limited on the options that I could add. I ran out of options, so I had to club some things together and make them a little bit more general. So I'm now going to come to our panelists, and Greg, I think I'm going to come to you first with this one, and I'd like to sort of talk about your background and what made you decide to sort of become an analytical chemist.
So I've got a degree in forensic and analytical science. I did a sandwich degree, which means one of the years I spent in industry as an analytical chemist. I was analysing precious metals for an assay office. And then I've been a technician for 8 years, primarily running mass spectrometry and chromatography. And I want to teach the students it as part of the job. Something I really like, but I also tell the students when I do teach them that it isn't just chemistry. Analytical science is used for if something needs how much or what's there or has to adhere to strict regulations. It covers a wide variety. So not all of our students go on to do PhDs, some like to go into industry. So I like to think that they've got a nice skill set through the teaching labs to help them in their future careers.
That's brilliant, thank you. And Zombie as well, same question for you.
So I've always enjoyed just science in general. I got into, I decided, I think I was 10 years old, that I wanted to become a scientist. And I've never regretted that decision since. And yeah, so with the applications for my degree, because I'm just looking at the list here as well, and I'm just thinking about the type of clients that we service and just the different sectors that they are all in. Like they come from all of the different sectors that you actually have listed here. We've worked with people in pharmaceuticals. Well, we're environmental, but we also work with other people environmental. There's tons in the food industry, forensics, and just, yeah, so it's everywhere. Like how to apply your analytical chemistry degree is just, the possibilities are endless. It's always just completely up to you.
That's great, thank you. So I've just closed the poll. I'm actually just going to share this with everyone so that you can see the breakdown. You can see, and I think this is kind of reflected in our discussion already, that our audience as well are from an equally varied range of industries to each other. So again, just showing how broad this course can be and how that can apply to everyone as well. The next question that I'm going to ask is, which analytical skills, tools and techniques would you say you use on a daily basis? Greg, can we come to you first?
Yeah, sure. So as a senior technician, most of the staff in my team have a specialized area. Mine is chromatography and mass spectrometry. I've been doing it for about 6 years. So if anything is separating or quantifying is normally my area, which I like to think I'm pretty good at, to be honest.
That's brilliant. Rashila, you look like you've got something you wanted to add there.
I wanted to say that he's actually quite brilliant. He's not just good. So.
Thank you.
I worked with Greg.
That's really nice. So there you go, Greg. You don't have to say quite good anymore. You can quote that you've been called quite brilliant. And Natombi, over to you. What type of skills do you use on a daily basis?
Oh, on a daily basis, it's literally everything. So everything that's covered in spectroscopy. So everything from UV, FTIR, it's literally everything. We use the ICP every day. We use the UV every day. We use the GCs every day. And of course, there's the sampling, which can easily be overlooked, but there's a lot of your analytical chemistry, from what I do, depends a lot on your sampling. So analytical chemistry teaches you exactly how to do that. So yeah, so there's a lot of that, and it's just, we use everything.
Thank you for that. That's brilliant. Thanks so much for sharing that as well. So I'm going to come to a slightly different question now. And Greg, I was hoping you would be able to take this question. So as you mentioned in your introduction, you've recently just completed the MSc in Analytical Chemistry and Measurement Science. How has studying the course kind of helped you in your job? Do you have any sort of plans to continue to use these skills and to continue to develop these skills further?
So currently, I'm obviously most comfortable in separations and mass spectrometry. Prior to starting this course, we just got some X-ray diffractors in, which even in my undergrad, I've never done before. And the unit on X-ray was really, really helpful. For my job particularly, I have to explain a lot of not the academic side, but more of how the instrument works, what it's looking for, and as somebody said, how good sample preparation must be to get good, accurate, reliable data, and that helped me a lot. And then what I did know already, so my background in mass spec, for example, when I did the mass spectrometry course, it improved what I already knew, because I graduated in 2013, and I was surprised how much mass spectrometry has changed in 9 years. And hopefully what I learn, I can then pass on to the students so they understand the techniques better when they're doing them in the lab.
That's great, thank you. And actually, I'd just like to kind of draw a little bit more on that, and perhaps this is something that both Rashila and Natombi, you could help me a little bit here with. You saying how much things have changed since you graduated from your undergraduate study. Can you think of other examples where things have come on a lot and where the course can help bring people up to date with their skills?
Yeah, okay, let me go first, Ntombi. With the course, we actually cover state-of-the-art instrumental techniques. So it's what's the latest. We must include what is latest in technology. For instance, like I teach in the atomic and molecular spectroscopy unit. So as everyone knows, at UKZN in South Africa, I'm an ICP expert. So we go into ICP MS, and now we even go into the operation of and the use of single particle ICP MS for nanotechnology. So it's always the latest. So each unit has to be up to date. And then we revise each year to see what's the latest technology, and we include that. And we also have simulation practicals as well. So that is also updated for every cohort that we run. So the simulation practical now will teach you how to use the latest instruments. If our prospective students are wondering how we actually run the practicals. So aside from having practical videos, we have simulations as well for all the different instrumental techniques that are out there. Thank you, Hazel. Over to you, Ntombi.
Thanks, Rashila. So it has to be the instrumentation that is being used. It always has to be up to date. When it comes to industry, we usually don't have a choice, because whenever the regulations are updated, there's the method that you use for sampling and analysis is always stipulated, and usually they will stipulate even the instrument that you need to use whenever you are doing a particular test. So if you want to get accredited to test metals, you have to be able to use an ICP, and there's just no negotiating it. So it's extremely crucial that you align yourself with the university that is making use of the instrumentation, and also making sure that they are up to date with the type of instrumentation that they use, so that by the time you do get out there into industry, you know, you're not you're not just all over the place, and you know exactly where to.
Oh, I think you've just frozen slightly there. So I'm not sure if we quite caught the end of what you said.
Oh, at which point did I freeze? Sorry.
It was literally, I think it's literally just been in the past couple of seconds. So your last couple of sentences would be great if you could just repeat them.
Oh, yes. So it is crucial that the students make sure that they align themselves with the university that makes use of the technologies that are required and the ones that are up to date, so that when they actually do go out into industry, they are also, operating on par with the people that are there, and, they don't feel like they're falling behind in any sense. Thank you.
No, that's brilliant. Thanks so much. So I'm going to go back to more thinking about your day jobs and when you're working, and something that I wanted to ask you both is, or particularly actually to Greg, who's just graduated and just completed the course. When you've been working full time, how have you found fitting in your studies as well with that whilst you were working and studying at the same time?
Initially, after being out of education for a while, I did find it a little bit of a challenge, but a lot of the stuff that I would do, every module has its recommended reading as well as supplementary reading. I found myself, when I was traveling to work, because I commute in, I would read that on my phone or on my laptop on my way into work. On a dinner break here and there, I would, watch a couple of videos or something. That I managed to find time, and everything was in enough chunks that if you've got an hour here or half an hour there, there's something you can read or watch to progress through the course, which I thought was a lot better than having a 2-hour video set up. It's a lot more manageable for someone who is working, which I think is really, really good.
Yeah, no, and that's absolutely great. And I know one of the things that we've talked about a little bit is although a lot of the things are released kind of online as well throughout the course, everything will be available for you to watch and watch back. There is also this really good opportunity for you to collaborate with the other students, to meet them at tutorials, to use discussion boards, and get to speak to each other and understand the different industries that each other work in as well. Greg, what was your experience of using those discussion boards and kind of collaborating with your peers from other industries?
So in the cohort that I was in, it was really nice because everyone had different areas of specialisms. So one of them on my course had never done NMR before, but a couple of us had. So we used the discussion boards to, if they couldn't find an answer easily, would ask us, and we would help support them. But then likewise the other way around, if it got to X-ray, for example, where I don't know much, one of the other colleagues on the course really helped me as well, bounce just not what I think is, there's no stupid questions, but sometimes I think students feel easier to talk to each other sometimes rather than an academic. And it was nice that we all had our areas of expertise and everyone's free to share them between each other and support each other, which I really, really enjoyed.
No, that's great. And actually thinking about this in kind of a more professional context and in your workplace, is that would you say those skills are transferable and that they're the sort of things that you would use regularly, Ntombi?
Excuse me, please repeat that 1 second.
So thinking about the skills and kind of collaborating and working with people from the different industries, discussing the different skills and challenges that you have when you're working with your clients, with your current company, are those skills that you're using regularly in your industry?
Yes, we do use those quite a lot. Thankfully, because of analytical chemistry. See, the thing is, it's very great to have a discussion and an argument, especially when you can back it up scientifically. So it is not just me with this thoughts. I actually have proof, and I have, a stipulated method as into how I actually did this. So that has been, that's always the saving grace about actually having the chemistry knowledge, but there are usually challenges, but thankfully, because it's not just my opinion and it's something that I can scientifically back up, it does help a lot when the challenges do present themselves, especially when it comes with the qualitative analysis aspects of analytical chemistry. We often will find ourselves in situations where we have to be settling disputes between different clients, and people are saying, no, I didn't do this to the environment, we think it was this person. So an analytical chemist then can just hop in quickly, by doing the respective analysis, and of course knowing which analysis to do in that situation to be able to settle that dispute and just mitigate as much of the miscommunication that can come around in situations like that. So yeah, it helps a lot to just have the chemistry knowledge.
That's brilliant. And what I'd like to do now is I'd just like to kind of give a bit of a shout out to our audience. So we do have the Q&A function available and live in Zoom today. So if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask our panel about working as an analytical chemist, or about the course, or about perhaps experience studying the course or experience with current students on the course, then please do use the Q&A function to ask those questions, and we'll come to as many of those as we can as well in just a moment. Something that I would like to ask our panel as well, and I'm going to come to Sheila first with this one. If there was somebody considering studying for an analytical chemistry qualification, they were perhaps a little bit on the fence about it, what kind of advice would you give them in making a decision about whether to study or not?
Oh, okay. Well, firstly, depending on the industry you're in, but as we've already stated in this last half hour, analytical chemistry is applicable to all industries, but we are not just developing your skills in the use of instruments. It's also your metacognitive skills that we are developing, your problem solving skills, these so-called soft skills. But although they say it's not really soft, it's harder than hard skills. That is why we prefer saying metacognitive skills. So we teach you how to think analytically. It's not just about use of instrumentation, how to solve problems, how to troubleshoot, and all of these range of skills will be developed if you do this course. So if you want to be that kind of individual who wants to develop your higher order thinking skills, then this is the course you need to take. So yeah, I would say if you're sitting on the fence, please fall on our side of the fence. Yeah, that's it. But ultimately, it is the individual's choice. But I cannot stress how important it is for you to have an analytical mind.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And Greg, next.
So my personal philosophy is that you can never do enough learning. There's always room for improvement, no matter whether you're just past your undergrad or you've done a postdoc. There's always room for improvement because the field of science always moves forwards. And the content in this and a lot of the people that teach those things are very, very professional, knowledgeable people, and they're really, really supportive of you as well. I know not everyone's work schedules are the same, and there's been a lot of flexibility around when we can do submissions or tutorials. It's almost fluid, nothing's completely set in stone. So it can, I guess what I'm trying to say is if you've got rigid working hours, there is flexibility in there for you. Don't think, oh, because I'm working this time that I won't be able to do it. I know from my cohort, we've had a lot of like changes like that, and it's all been for the positive, and the support you get from everybody, people behind the scenes to unit leaders to course leaders like Rashila, is absolutely fantastic.
That's great. Thanks, Greg. And actually, that is a really, really important point to highlight there about the flexibility with the course as well. I know it's something that a lot of our current students are really benefiting from and are really grateful for. Things like the tutorials, we don't advertise the times that those start before you begin the program. And the reason for that is because we want to be as inclusive as possible. We don't say you've got a tutorial at 2 p.m. UK time every Tuesday. You know, we look as a university, Rashila and all of the teaching team, they look and they'll see what time zones people are based in to maximize the chance that you're going to be able to attend. Everything is recorded so that you don't miss out on those opportunities. You have a University of Manchester email address. During that time, you'll have a student email address. You have access to all of the student support and things like that you need as well. And that can really help you with managing your time. You can ask a question, you know, say you're working in the evening in your time zone and that's the middle of the night here in the UK, you know, you've got that email address, you can send an email and then somebody can get back to you like the next day within their working hours. And it's just really to say that, you know, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. The course is designed to be as flexible as inclusive as it can be as well, to make sure that you can get everything that you deserve to get from the course from it too. Natombi, same question to you. What would you say to someone who's considering studying a qualification in analytical chemistry?
I would say to anybody that's on the fence about studying any qualification that the best place to fall into would be analytical chemistry. It's very central compared to all of the other different studies that you can do, which tend to be very focused on a particular type of science, whereas analytical chemistry is applicable to all the different types of science that you can find yourself wrapped into. Because even with the clients that we service, they also need to make use of analytical chemistry, and they're in a wide range of sectors as well. So I would say that if ever in doubt, go with analytical chemistry.
So we have had one question submitted, which is how in depth of the knowledge do you build for instrumentation? Does it lean more towards theory or practical or troubleshooting when you're actually faced with an instrument, or is it more just how the instruments work?
I guess I better take that as the current student. So like most stuff in science, it starts at the basic fundamentals of that technique. So the theory, and week by week, it starts to build up on that knowledge, and to a point where you then get to see practicals, or in some cases, even some of the practicals are you can simulate yourself as part of that unit. So you can actually see what you've learned put into practice. And the videos that are there, or the simulations that are there, are very, very detailed and let you change parameters. If you think, oh, what would happen if I did this with this instrument, you can change that and see it, or you would be able to see it in the video.
Can I add on to that, Hazel? So each unit, this is now for the benefit of how we run and prospective students, each unit spans 10 weeks. So imagine spending 10 weeks on a particular instrumental technique. So we cover the breadth and depth of that instrumental technique. And as Greg said, you start with the fundamentals, and of course you're going to go into great detail eventually. So the second half of the unit would be the more advanced techniques, a lot of detail, a lot of troubleshooting. So we cover it all round we look at the techniques from all sides. So when you are done with the unit, you would be an expert on that particular technique. And we have 6 different units covering all the different techniques. Thank you.
So the next question we have is been submitted to us in the Q&A, and I can see there's a couple of questions that have come through the chat as well. So we'll come to those in just a moment. So the first question is there a proteomic aspect taught in the course?
Proteomics.
Sorry, I'm not an analytical chemist myself, so I do tend to mispronounce things.
I think, yes, there is. Without spoiling whose unit it is or what unit it is, but yes, there is definitely a proteomics part in one of the units.
Great, thank you. So looking into the chat, I can see we've had another couple of questions that have been asked in here as well. So Ntombi, we've got a question based on your accreditation schedule. What tests are you currently accredited for? Also, do you conduct sludge testing, i.e. sludge classification?
Yes, we do sludge testing as well as classification. We also do waste classification. Our scope of accreditation is pretty wide. So if you have a look on our website, you'd be able to see all of the different tests that we can do for you on the various soil matrices as well.
That's great, thank you. And question for you, Rashila. Can you take us through the requirements of this course, mostly for working students? They just said they're not sure if it's been covered because there's been a couple of network issues.
Are you not going to go through that later, Hazel?
Yeah, I think we are. So in terms of kind of the time requirements, yep, we're absolutely going to go through that. We're just about to do a course overview at the end of the Q&A session. So at the end of that, if there's anything that we've not covered that you want an answer to, then please just let us know and prompt us and we can cover that as well. And we've got another question here saying, what are the prerequisites of the course as well? So by prerequisites, I'm assuming that you mean kind of an academic background. So what we would normally say is we require at least a second-class honours degree or equivalent in chemistry or another degree subject with a major analytical component. So we've made people offers who've had a chemical engineering background, biotechnology background, in the past biochemistry, it doesn't have to be straight chemistry, dual honours chemistry undergraduate degrees as well. So if you're not sure about those entry requirements, and if you meet those entry requirements, then what I'll do is I will encourage you to get in contact with me, and my contact details will be up at the end of today's webinar as well, and we can have a little bit of chat about your eligibility to study the course, and you can send a CV over, and I'm happy to take a look through that as well.
And to add, Hazel, that we do consider, if you have an undergrad degree, we will consider your work experience. If you are interested in doing the MSc, I know in South Africa we have an undergrad degree and then a separate honors degree. And I think this is the case with most African countries. So a lot of students don't have that honors degree and are interested in continuing with the master's. So that is allowed as long as you have 2 years of minimum of 2 years of work experience. That's appropriate work experience, of course. So as Hazel said, you need to contact her. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And yeah, like I would say, I would really encourage you, if you think you might fall into one of these categories where you're not sure if you meet the entry requirements, or if you have a slightly different sort of set of experience and you want to have a chat about it, I'd encourage you to get in contact with me and send across your CV, and we can arrange a time to have a chat and discuss it a little bit further as well. One question that we've had come through as well is related to completing the dissertation. And it says, will I be supported in completing a dissertation in my current workplace?
Yes, definitely. So if you proceed with the MSc, so we do have a lot of students who don't meet the requirements for an MSc. So they start with the PG cert. As long as you pass that, you can move on to the PG dip or MSc. But if you are enrolled in the MSc program, the last 6 months, approximately 6 months, is dedicated to your research project. And you will, if it's done at your particular industry, you will have an industry supervisor and you will be supported by an academic supervisor. Of course, if it's on campus, we do allow on-campus projects, in which case Hazel can maybe talk to you about getting a visa, and then you would have an academic main supervisor and perhaps a co-supervisor. So yes, you will get all the support that you need from the University of Manchester for your research project. And maybe Greg can add on to that because he's just completed his research project.
So the support given to me during my dissertation was absolutely phenomenal. I'm someone who's never done academic writing before, and my supervisor helped me go on a training course for academic writing, which I believe might be offered to people on this. I'm not sure. But she helped me with everything. Like if I had a problem or to bounce ideas off. I mean, I changed my dissertation project within the first 3 weeks, I think. And my supervisor was entirely on board with that and supported me every step of the way. I honestly can't praise her or the team behind her, so the unit leader as well, or Rochelle, enough for the support I did get during my dissertation.
That's great, thanks, Greg. And actually, just to touch on that support there that is available to students. So as a student at the University of Manchester, you will have access to our library, which has 24/7 support. And they understand that when you're coming back to study, potentially after quite a big gap, you might want a refresher of your academic writing skills, your researching skills, your referencing skills. And our library run a whole host of courses that you're able to take part in, and they run online as well. So you are able to take part in those and help bring those skills up to date as well. So there is opportunities there for support and to making sure that we're setting you up to succeed as much as possible too. So the next question we have, which I can see in the chat, is because analytical chemistry encompasses so many different fields, what would you say is the most can see everyone thinking, don't all rush at once to answer.
I think it's entirely subjective and dependent on the individual. For me, I have great difficulty with the theory and stuff behind X-ray and magnetic resonance, but there's also been people on my course that have absolutely flown through that, but they've really struggled with mass spec or separations or ICP. I think it's down to the individual's strengths and weaknesses. If I'm completely honest, I don't think there is a most difficult, just so to speak. I think it's purely down to where your favorite area lies, because everyone will have a favorite area, and how challenging you personally find that content.
That's great. Is there anything anyone else would like to add?
Yes, I would like to agree with Greg. It's basically based on your preference. But like for me, what I found was, especially even in my undergraduate studies, with all the different types of chemistries that I had to do, analytical chemistry I found to be actually quite a pleasure to do compared to the rest of them. Yeah, so I would also have to agree with Greg to say it's purely based on your preference, and each and every single situation is different, and you know, it's just going to challenge you sometimes, but there's always a lot to love about it as well.
That's brilliant, thank you. So I'm going to answer one more question, and then I'm just very aware of the time, and that our panel have taken a lot of time out of their busy days today, so I'm just very aware of that. If you've got any more questions, we can try and answer them, so please do submit them. But what I'm going to do in a moment is I'm going to move on and just introduce the course in a bit more detail for you as well. So the question that we have is relating to scholarships, and if there are any scholarships to study for this course. So there are a few different scholarships available, and what I'll do is I'm going to just put a link to our course webpage into the chat for you, and that will give you a overview of the scholarships itself. We've got things such as an equity and merit scholarship, which we are delighted to be a part of, and we also have the Global Futures Scholarship as well, which is eligible to a number of students. So I encourage you to use the website and take a look at those. And we do also have an alumni discount as well available, and those are at 10%. So alumni discount is for if you have graduated from the University of Manchester or UMIST, then we can offer a 10% discount on your tuition fees. And I will share a link to the course website, the course webpage as well, into the chat for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sharing my screen again, so that we can do a brief course overview, but please do let us know if you do have any more questions as they're coming up as well. So analytical chemistry and measurement science offers flexibility through a variety of qualification options such as the MSc, PG Dip, PG Cert and CPD, which I know we have already mentioned throughout today's webinar. The great thing about the course, as Rashila said, is the flexibility to switch between those routes. And so long as you're passing the course, say you start on the postgraduate certificate and you would like to actually go on to complete a full MSc, so long as you've passed the postgraduate certificate at the pass rate for the master's course, then you will have the opportunity to switch and to do that. Depending on the qualification that you choose, it should take about 3 to 26 months to complete. And you have the option to begin your studies in either February or September for the MSc postgraduate diploma or postgraduate certificate. And if you wanted to study the CPD units, then there are also start dates in May and November. If you are interested in the CPD, then I'd encourage you to get in contact with me and let me know, because the CPD units, some of them only run, they'll run at different times each year. So it's worth checking what the start date is for the unit that you're most interested in. The course is completed completely online, which means that there's no need to travel to Manchester during your studies unless you choose to do the research project with us at the University of Manchester. Assessments are all coursework based with no exams. And I know that's something that a lot of our students are really relieved about and really grateful for. And at the start of each unit, you'll receive the deadlines to help you to plan your time effectively. We expect during your studies that you're going to spend about an average of 20 hours a week studying the course. And for up-to-date details, including all the course fees, all of the scholarships and discounts that are available, I'd encourage you to visit www.manchester.ac.uk/analytical chemistry. So I can see we've got another few questions that have come through. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a moment and just come back to those quickly. Somebody's asked, if we don't have a potential supervisor, then what would you do for the application? And so really it's just to explain that this is a taught masters course, so you don't need to have a potential supervisor at the time of applying. You'll apply online through our online application portal, and in there you'll have to complete things like a personal statement. You'll need to provide things like your degree transcript, your degree certificates, and you'll need to put a CV in there as well to detail your work experience. But when you are considering your research project, you'll meet with our research project module leader, and they'll work with you as well to identify a suitable project based on your interests and based on perhaps your current area of work and the different research opportunities that there are with the university as well. So you don't need to have a potential supervisor at the time of applying. You don't need to have necessarily decided what you want your research project to be either. And was there any other questions that anybody had? Then there's the last couple of sort of the last call for you to pop them either into the chat or into the Q&A function as well.
There is one, Hazel. Somebody asked if they have 3 years of laboratory activity experience, can they join the master's program? And if there's any scholarships for Nigeria. In terms of the scholarship, I think Hazel will send that information over through to you. Or did you say you'll send a link, Hazel?
Yeah, so I've put a link into the chat onto the course webpage, and that has if you scroll down on there into the last section, there is a section there about scholarships specifically that lists all of the type of funding support that is available for this program. So I'd encourage you to take a look through those and see if any of those particularly apply to you. If you're not sure, you have any more questions after you've done that, then you could then I'd encourage you to send me an email, and I'll put my email address up on the screen in just a moment as well.
Okay, in terms of eligibility, as I said, if you have an MSc degree without honors, and if you have a minimum of 2 years appropriate work experience, then we will consider you for the master's degree.
That's great, thank you. Oh yeah, I can see we've had another question come in, and it's just asking what you enjoy most about analytical chemistry. I'm going to start with Rashila on this one.
I'm the teacher, so from the teacher's perspective, I enjoy teaching my students, and as Ntombi knows, analytical chemistry is my passion. So I try to get as much postgraduates in analytical chemistry as possible. I enjoy everything about analytical chemistry. Mostly as an academic, I enjoy teaching students and imparting that knowledge and then them taking it to their industries. And I also teach my postgrads to teach other postgrads. So that was my philosophy. I teach you and then you teach others. So it's about transferring that knowledge, empowering students, and everything that comes with teaching students, but in my case, analytical chemistry. Thank you.
That's great, thanks. Who wants to go next?
Okay, I'll jump onto that one. So what do I enjoy most? I think it's, again, I'll have to say the whole thing. It's because once you have that analytical mind, each and every single problem that you see, you want to solve it with that analytical mind. And you always want to get yourself into all of these kinds of situations so that you can, make use of the knowledge that, you know about analytical chemistry. Like for me at work, I always enjoy, because I usually get invited, because I have a research level qualification. I don't necessarily do all the water sampling, but I will always only get invited during for non-routine stuff, where now they need a person like me to actually make use of all of my skills and knowledge. I mean, we have things that we do on a day-to-day basis, but for the most part, I get invited for all of those unique situations that require us, to have research expertise, as well as laboratory expertise, as well as field expertise, and just combining all of that together, I think would be impossible without that analytical mind. And thanks to Rashila's teaching, you guys, you cannot go wrong. Because I even remember the comment that Greg made earlier when he said there's a lot of support that you get from the supervisors. And I would like to attest to say, absolutely, yes, there's a ton of support when it comes to the supervisors.
I am also in the really weird spot. I'm in between Rashila and Ntumi. For me, my favorite thing about it is, as a kid, I always wanted to know why, how, what, and for me, analytical chemistry answers those a lot of those questions, or you can explore it to find out. But on the other part of it, I absolutely love demonstrating stuff to students. I don't like to just go, this is it, just put your sample in here, this is your data. I like explaining it to them. A lot of them like to engage with, why does it work? How does it work? I'm really, really picky over student sample preparation. I'm trying to drill it into them that if they take the time and do good, accurate sample preparation, they will see that in their results and in their data analysis. And I like to make sure they go through from sample preparation to actually using the instrument themselves to doing it at the end. So it's both. I like teaching and I like just answering my own questions, if that makes sense.
That's great, thank you. So I'm about to just launch a couple of questions for our audience, just for you to let me know if you'd like me to follow up and give you any more information. So please do answer those. And I'm just going to come to what we're going to have to now have as our final question, which is, what do you think is the biggest gap in the analytical chemistry field? Greg, do you want to go first on this one?
I don't think there is. I think the depth and breadth of analytical chemistry and science as a whole governs nearly everything we do in our way of life already. Nothing is, like Sheila said earlier, there's nothing we don't eat, drink, sleep on. Anything that we do has to be quantified or to some form of regulation. And I think analytical chemistry covers all that, but it's also constantly evolving as well. So if something new comes out, I know my supervisor for my project, she works with a lady who can smell Parkinson's, which a few years ago I was doing my undergrad would just sound like science fiction, but now it's real because it's evolving constantly, and that's one of the things I like about it, I think.
Sophie, what do you think the biggest gap in the analytical chemistry field is?
I also can't see a gap, but I would say that we are lacking. It's not that we are lacking, but there just aren't enough people out there with the degree. And that is why I would just suggest that more and more of them get it. Like, there's a big misconception out there that the industry is saturated. No, it is not. We are so rare that I feel that the industry would move to even greater heights if we were to just get the numbers in on there. I would say that is the gap, I suppose. Like if we were to just get more and more people coming into just science in general and then specializing in analytical chemistry, I think that would really, not put so much pressure on the rest of us that are out here having to carry the brunt of so much. Because I mean, there's the whole world with like billions of people, and there are so many analytical chemistry requirements in all of that, that I think just the only thing we are missing is just manpower.
I agree 100% with Ntombi. It's exactly what I was going to say. The gap, there's no gap in analytical chemistry. The gap was analytical chemistry. But over time, we've seen that there was this gap, and so we've addressed that at the University of Manchester, and now we've actually introduced this program. There wasn't such a program before, but it has been introduced in the recent years.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. So all that's really left now, and I noticed we've run a couple of minutes over, so thank you for staying around after our advertised finish time. All that's really left for me to say now is thank you so much to our panel today for taking the time out of their day to come and talk and share their experiences. And thank you as well to you, our audience, for all of your brilliant questions that you've been asking throughout, and for getting so involved, popping things in the chat, and really making the event as interesting and informative as it has been. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch today's webinar, and we really hope to hear from you soon.